Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by Jana Groscost, and we are going to talk about monetizing your soul business. So, if you are not an entrepreneur, then this episode might not be of value to you unless you want to explore the world of becoming a spiritual or soulful entrepreneur. Then this is already very valuable to you because then you will hit the ground running and you will know exactly what to do to have a successful business. So, in any case, thank you, Jana, for being here. I've been looking forward to this talk, and I've been looking forward to diving into this topic because I don't know how it is for you, but I meet a lot of soulful spiritual entrepreneurs that have gotten clear on their dream, that figured out the 9 to 5 business is not my business. I don't want to work for a boss. It's sapping my soul, it's draining my energy. And then they gotten clear on their dream, and their dream is usually more freedom to decide what they want to do, with whom they want to work, what it is that they want to do, where they want to work, stuff like that. And then crickets.
So true.
Right?
So true. And I know you did mention if you are an entrepreneur or are not an entrepreneur, but I want you to think about too, even if you have a passion for something, this could just be a way of monetizing something you're passionate about or something that you want to share with the world or share your gifts and talents with. So it doesn't have to turn into this supersized enterprise. It can be whatever you want it to be. And we
It could be
just
your
want
side
people to
hustle.
keep that in mind that, it's not like, oh, we've got to create a business around this. It could be some sort of side hustle that pays for your vacations or pays for a new car or whatever it is. So
You're
you'll want to
absolutely
listen
right.
up because we're going to have some great ideas to support you.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. And that is absolutely true. And sometimes we are just passionate about something. And that's also a group of people that I talk to regularly that think, but everybody does this and this is nothing special. Or think, yeah, well, I love gaming, but how can I make a living out of that? You cannot be paid for gaming or earn enough to pay your bills. And I'm guessing you'd be surprised when you actually discover the different ways in which you can monetize your passions and have a nice income out of it.
Well, and think of it this way too. What if you just paid one bill with money that you earned from this? And then maybe you build it up and pay two bills, and then pretty soon you build it up and pay three bills or something like that. So it's a different way of looking at it instead of, oh, I've got to do this or that. But when you have your passion, when you're excited about something, and even if there are other people doing it, you are unique. You have unique gifts. The way that you look at it is different. The ideas that you have around it are different. So even if somebody did what you thought was the exact same thing, people may not resonate with that person, but they resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's absolutely true. Even if you and I were doing the exact same thing, then still people would be drawn either to your energy or to my energy or to your background story or my background story, and the way that you decided to solve things and the way I decide to solve things. And usually choosing someone is very personal. And let's face it, there are billions and billions of people on this planet, and we cannot serve all of them. So I also don't believe in competition in whatever it is that you're doing. I only see beautiful collaborations in the future and making even more things possible for even more people.
I wholeheartedly agree. We are moving towards a lot of collaboration, collective thinking, group efforts, those types of things, because that's where we really shine. When we can come together and we all have our unique talents, but we create this puzzle that, really fills in the gaps of maybe parts that you're not good at, but somebody else is. Turn over the stuff that you don't like to do to that person, let them be the master of it. And you get to shine in your genius zone by doing what you do best. And it becomes a win-win situation. And like you said, collaboration, in my opinion, doesn't, competition does not exist. And when we can let go of that belief that I'm competing for other people's time and resources and money and whatever, then we really can step into something different. In fact, you can create a micro brand where you're making $1 million with 1,000 loyal subscribers, followers, clients, whatever you want to call it, whatever your business is. So 1,000 people out of 6 billion, I think there's plenty to go around.
That sounds doable, right? And indeed, plenty to go around for plenty of people. So I can imagine that people that are watching and listening to this have the question about, okay, that sounds awesome, and I would potentially be very interested, but where do I start?
That's a great question. Some of the things that I actually have my clients get started with is getting clarity about things that they are good at, right? Because just because it's something that comes easy to you, for example, managing money is easy to me. It's something I've talked about with my family my entire life. I grew up managing money. I have degrees in money, such as accounting and finance. And so I can talk money all day long. And yet for other people, most people, they don't know how to manage money. And so it's something that is so normal and natural that I think, well, everybody knows how to do this because it's easy to me. So you've got to look at, what is easy for you that everyone looks at you and they're like, wow, how did you pull that room together and make it look so good? Or how did you do that project so effortlessly? Like those are some of the things that give you clues as to maybe some of the things that you could be doing. So that's one suggestion. And then we can also look at our skill set, right? Like what have you learned? What have you mastered? What job did you have? What something that you're very passionate about? Like I'm an energy healer too. So I'm very passionate about teaching people about energy healing and managing their energy. And in doing that, even though I may not have a formal education, I have a lot of bits and pieces that could help people too. So those are two ways that you can start looking at your life. What am I really good at that, maybe not everybody is good at? And what skill set do I have that I could actually share my knowledge and resources with others?
Mm-hmm. I love that, and it's indeed very important to start with. And I also know that some people have trouble seeing that for themselves. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It can be either Jana or myself that can help you, but it can also just be friends or family, your mom, your dad, someone who knows you really well, who can point out the things that you do effortlessly, the things that you've always been able to do seemingly easily without any prior knowledge or extensive learning, the things that we don't see for ourselves, or that we definitely don't see as something special or unique. The things we usually think about, everybody knows how to do that, or everybody can do this, or this is nothing important or special or worth mentioning, because a lot of times we don't see these skills from ourselves, and then outside input is really, really valuable.
Absolutely. Can I share a quick story?
Yes, go.
So my mother was amazing at putting together incredible parties. And she would have hundreds of people at these parties. And she would elaborately decorate and she would plan all the food and like all this coordination and everything. And my dad suggested that she write a book on how to entertain. And, whether it was a small dinner party for 6 or 8 people or whether it was a large event, she could just pull how much stuff she needed for every size of group. And she had no self-esteem. She didn't believe that it was something that, everybody should know how to do this. And yet people raved about these parties. They were so much fun and so well thought out. In fact, one of the parties was for their friend that turned 50, and they got this casket that was from the 1800s on wheels, right? So they got this casket going down the center of the party. And I mean, just like fun stuff like that. And she would just like seek that stuff out. And yet she didn't believe that anybody else would buy that book or that information because she didn't believe in herself. Mm-hmm. And so I love the fact that you're talking about talk with friends and family and see what they think that you're good at, and never discount what they say, right? Like look at it, be curious about what comes up, and think about, wow, well, if other people think I'm good at this, is there a way that I can utilize this message, share it with other people so that I can support others on their journey?
Yes, exactly. I love that story because it's so true for so many people. But okay, so now I know I've talked to people around me. I have more clarity on the things that I'm good at. I might still be a little self-doubtful, but at least I have a clearer image now of the things that I'm good at or that other people think I'm really good at. But what's next? How do I then turn that into money-making machine?
That's another great question. The next step would really be looking at what do you want to offer and who are you serving, right? And often we start going down this path of discovery with who our ideal client, customer, audience is. And honestly, it's probably you, right? When you look at the journey that you've been on, whatever you've had to overcome in your lifetime that's got you to this place, how did you get there? And how can you support other people that are maybe a step or two behind you? And it would lighten their load just by knowing what you know to help them get through this. So I'd really identify what your audience is, and then how do you want to serve them? Because that's one of the biggest things. Will it be in small groups in your own community? Is it something that you're sharing throughout your country? Is it worldwide? Like really kind of diving in, how do you want to share this information? And sometimes even in looking at that, we overlook some of the best ways of doing it. For example, a lot of people have difficulty with public speaking or being in front of an audience. And yet that may be where you need to eventually go, but it doesn't mean that's where you need to start. You may start with a small group of 5 or 6 people, share your knowledge and wisdom, start to help them see, you know, whatever you've gone through and help them get to that next level, or teach them some specific skill so that they get to the next level. And you can start figuring it out, but you're not going to go from ground zero with nobody to 100,000 people audience that you're stepping into. It's not going to work that way. It's going to be a process that you're building over time.
Exactly. I almost wanted to say I wish, but I don't think I actually wish, because I didn't think I would have known what to do with 1 million people after the second day of starting my business. So it's indeed something that you're growing into, and you raised a couple of really good points, because if I look back at my journey, then the biggest discovery, I think, is indeed that my ideal customer, the person I am best able to serve, is a version of myself. And I have a lot of people, a lot of clients that tell me, yeah, but who am I to teach something to other people when I am not at my end station yet, when I'm still learning, when I'm still in that process? Who am I to then start pretending like I'm an expert, or fake it until I make it type of thing, because I feel like an imposter. So who am I? And you raised an important point, because you are the one that is teaching someone who is 2 to 5 steps something behind you. So you're teaching about the things that you are already an expert in, because you've already moved through those points. You might not be at your top of your game or your end station, or you might still be learning other stuff. So you probably won't be teaching about the other stuff, but you can already teach about the things that you've already mastered, the lessons that you've already learned, and then be a guide to someone who is following a similar path as you are, but is just backwards or further down that same path as you are. And you don't have to feel like an imposter or a fake it till you make it, because the fact that you are here and the fact that you are moving up on your ladder and you're learning new things already shows that you're implementing and doing the things that you've already learned and have become a master in it. Otherwise, you wouldn't go up your ladder. So it's important, I think, for people to realize that you're already good at everything that you've already done, and you can teach people how to do the things that you've already done and then turn that into your business.
Oh, so true. And I love that you brought up the point of the imposter syndrome, because we need to address that on a big level. And you're right, we can't be at the end of our game and help other people that are beginning their journey, because at that point we will be so much further evolved that we will forget all the little steps that they're going through, and we will still have empathy for them, but not in the same capacity, because it's unrelatable. The gap is way too wide. So we need to keep that gap smaller. And, sort of like when you're reaching to the person behind you and say, grab that rock and I'll pull you to the next rock, right? It's that type of support that we're providing in this process versus, regurgitating everything that we know, and the people looking at it and it's like deer in the headlights going, but I don't know the next right step to take. So
Exactly.
it's a challenge to get over the imposter syndrome and think, well, I need to know everything before I can teach anything. And the truth is, no, you need to teach what you know now. And then when you get to the next step, you'll be able to show them what their next step is too.
Exactly. That's why I believe that every business owner that's serious about their craft and their business has a coach or a mentor to guide them. Someone who's following a similar journey as you, but is just a couple of steps ahead of you. And you can also not jump from where you are to someone who is already extremely successful, because they will tell you things like, well, you need to ask like 1K or 5K for an hour or a day's work. And you're like, oh my God, no, I don't feel more than $50 or something, right? So then the gap is too big, and the fear will be too big. And then you sort of freeze like that deer in the headlight, and you also will not move further. So it's like a delicate balance where we need to be surrounded by both people who are a couple of steps ahead that we can learn from, and then pass on our knowledge to people that are a couple of steps behind, so that we take them with us and grow, and so that we all grow. I think that's, if you talk about, maybe this is not the circle of life, but the circle of business.
I agree. We do need that circle of business. And I loved also a moment ago when you shared the analogy of climbing the ladder, because I actually see it like a spiral, because we may hit the same sort of fears at certain points in our journey, and they're going to be, we come at them at a different level as we evolve and spiral upward. And so that evolution, yes, we are climbing a ladder, but it's more like we're going in the circle, and as we're hitting these different points, we're seeing, oh, I used to act this way, and now I'm able to see myself differently, I'm responding differently, and as a result, I'm getting different results.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with you. In personal development, I usually use the analogy of an onion, where we peel off layers. And with every layer we peel off, we're going deeper towards who we really are. And depending on the thing that happened to you, if I look at myself, the things that happened in the first 7 years of my life that were extremely impactful, I've encountered them a lot. And I used to think, well, why is this coming back? I've already dealt with that. I've already cried over it. I did healing on it. I did my shadow work. Why is this coming up again, right? When is it finally done? And I hear a lot of my clients asking similar questions. And the answer to that is indeed the layer system, or what you call the spiral system, right? Because we evolve as a person and we get new insights and we never get more than we can handle. So we are dealing with something on a certain plane, on a certain level, with the knowledge that we have and the healing that we have and whatever is feasible, possible for us at that moment. And that's the thing that we do. But then we keep on growing, we keep on evolving, we are getting new knowledge, maybe a new mentor or a new coach, and then we are ready for the next level of healing, or the next level of peeling back, or the next level of whatever it is that's coming up. And then things that run deep can also resurface again because we need to heal it on a different level, or with a newfound insight or a new gained perspective, or whatever it is that needs to happen to also let it go on that level.
Such great points, right? And I think that's where a lot of people may get frustrated and think, oh, I just keep getting the same type of stuff coming at me. But that onion analogy is perfect to recognize that it's just getting you to the core of who you are authentically, so that you're free from all of these emotional and energetic entanglements that are holding you back from really standing in your power and honoring who you are. So this is a process. This is not a destination. You're not going to get at the end line and be like waving a flag or something. It'll be like, oh yeah, there's another point and another place I need to go and something else I need to do. We're here to grow and learn.
Yes.
And our end destination is when we are 6 feet under, right? That's like it's over at that point. And there's
Yes.
nothing more we can do on this earthly plane.
No, it's also not a sprint, and it's also not linear. It's not like the goal is there and I go and then I reach it, right? It's sometimes and then you go a bit back and then big up and then maybe deep down, and you're basically all over the place. And it
I
will
know.
feel like you're all over the place, but that's normal.
Yes, thanks for bringing that point up, because it is very normal to be in all over the place.
Yes. But I used to think that I was doing it wrong because I didn't really see any progress. But that was when I still thought that progress was linear, and that's not the
Right.
way it works. And it's also not indeed about your end destination. It's not about being hugely successful or making tons and tons of money or whatever. It's so much more about the journey and enjoying the journey along the way and learning the lessons that you can learn. And yes, sometimes the lessons will be very painful. And yes, sometimes you can end up in a deep valley, and you might want to give up. Be prepared for things like that. And that's also where a coach or a mentor or a guide comes in, because they can talk to you about these feelings that you're having and help you make sense of it, and help you realize that it is very normal that they went through something similar as well, and offer tips, advice, exercises, or whatever it is to facilitate the process and make it easier on yourself, because you don't have to do all of this by yourself. You can, but you don't have to.
No, and I highly encourage you to have, like you said, the mentors that will support you and the communities, because we're not meant to be in this alone. We're
No.
here to grow together. It is actually a sign of strength
Mm-hmm.
that we ask for help, that we ask for support, and not a sign of weakness. And I think that's one of the challenges, especially as women, we've had to overcome, that it's going to show that I'm a weak person, that I'm asking for help. And the truth is that we need other people to be able to hold space for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love being in communities with, like-minded people, that I
Yes.
may be having a bad day today and tomorrow they may be, but today I can help them and tomorrow they help me. And
Mm-hmm.
together we make progress. So I encourage everybody to have the right mentors that actually support them and help them feel empowered, and the communities that help them feel like they're making progress, because we're not meant to do this alone.
No, you're absolutely right. And everything you just described was the why behind me starting my community Solutions, Solutions of the Soul. Because it is all about connecting with like-minded people and learning and growing and supporting each other, so that together we rise up through everything. And like I said before, you can do it by yourself, but it will take longer and it will be harder and more difficult, and you will face wanting to give up more often than not. And finding like-minded people who have similar experiences can really make you feel like, oh my God, I'm not weird, or I'm not
It's
alone.
not just
This
me,
is very, yeah,
right?
this is not just me. This is normal. Oh, of course. Okay. And that just really helps, especially on those days where you are ready to throw in your hat in the ring, and they will come. Because I always say nothing helps you grow as a person as much as becoming your own boss, starting your own business, because it forces you to deal with every aspect of your personality, whether you like it or not. And it forces you to either stop and die, meaning the end of your business, or evolve and grow, meaning moving further ahead with your business. And it's a very interesting process. But I can also imagine the people that are listening and watching to this right now think, okay, so I've gotten clear on what I am special in, what I can do, what my gifts are, what people really see as my talents. And I have also gotten clear on who I want to do it for. I basically took myself 2 years ago and I described that person, and I think, well, I have that down. And depending on if you are an introvert, then you might prefer one-on-one or smaller settings, or an extrovert where you also can take on groups, or you've decided I'm starting with one-on-one to get the experience and maybe groups are in my future. You've gotten clear on your method. What's next?
Now that you've discovered those elements, the next step is really starting to reach out to people. So any part of relationship, if we look at any relationship, it's about building relationships with people. So if you have difficulty building relationships with people, I'd encourage you to stay in your job because it's not going to be easy for you to get clients. Most people give up because honestly, business is about sales.
Yes.
And a lot of people will say, I hate sales. I don't want to be salesy. Well, nobody wants to be salesy, right? Like, I don't need to bat somebody over the head to get them to buy from me. But if I can
Nobody
show
also wants to
them,
be sold. People also hate being sold. So it's a two-way street,
right?
right?
So it's a
Yeah.
two-way street. But this is about adding value to somebody's life, right? And that value is, this is where where you're at now. Do you want to shorten the distance on how long it takes you to get to the next step? I can help you, right? And by having that type of approach, you're not in a sales position per se. You're actually in a guidance position where you're leading them towards the next step. And yes, they're going to pay you for that next step, right? Just like you probably paid somebody else or bought some program or did something that helped you gain the knowledge and wisdom to help you get where you're at.
Yes.
So recognize that, yes, you are worthy of it. And honestly, this is where a lot of people, especially women, get caught up. I am not worthy to ask for what I am really worth, right?
Mm.
Like, like you mentioned earlier, I can only charge $50 for that
Yeah.
when, it may be something that's worth $500. But we
Yes.
have to get over that belief that I am not worthy of asking for big money for whatever I am offering.
Mm.
So a part of this is learning to build relationships, and that comes from networking with people. Because if you want to get one, let's say one client, right? If you want to get one client, I have a client, she actually has a board and it's a funnel. So at the top, she has all of the people that she has had some initial contact with, and it's usually around 40 to 50 people. From that 40 to 50 people, she may get 10% of them. So between 5 or 10 people that will actually have a conversation with her. From that, let's say 10, because it's an easy number, she gets 3 people that actually step into the sales process. And then from the sales process, she may get 1 person that actually hires her. So this is a process that people have to go through. They have to understand what you are offering. They need to see how it's going to support what they're going through and the challenges that they're personally facing. And then, is it something that they're comfortable paying you for? Right. But when we know, like, and trust somebody, we're more likely to buy from them. So it's not going to be like, hear my message one time or see my social media post and 400,000 people buy it that day. Yeah, maybe if you've got 1 million followers and they know, like, and trust you anyway. But when you're new out in the market, it takes some time and energy to really build. And this is why I see so many people that they give up. I'm not good at business. This isn't the right thing for me. I'm never going to get, make the kind of money that I want from this. I recommend that people set smaller goals. Don't go from, I'm quitting my day job, from just starting a business within the first 6 weeks, right? Like, it may take you some time to build up the confidence, the routine of building your network and getting the people in your funnel, in your life, so that they can potentially become customers.
Yes.
And, so there's, it's not something that's an overnight success. It'd be great if it was, but it's kind of like anything. If you picked up a tennis racket and said, oh, I want to play in the US Open or Wimbledon next year, and you practice for a year and you kind of get better, but you're probably not going to be Wimbledon in 1 year. So the same thing happens with our business. We need to honor where we're at in the process and continue to grow and learn and engage with the mentors that are going to support us where we want to go.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that process also grows as you grow. And I also see that the business that you initially start doesn't have to be your forever business. If I look at how my business started 10 years ago and what it is right now, parts of that is still incorporated in this business, but it's so much more. It has evolved to so much more right now. But you have to start somewhere. And some of the biggest game changers for me were realizing that sales is just talking. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. It's just talking to people, but from authenticity, from genuine interest. Not, hey, how are you? I'm not really interested in you, but I just want to figure out if I can shove my services through your throat and have you pay big dollars for it. No, that's what a lot of people are doing. But if you're an authentic spiritual entrepreneur, then that usually feels icky and ugh. But if you come from a genuine place and you start talking to people and you're talking about their day-to-day experiences or maybe something that has just happened to them, and you listen to their story, and at some point you think, oh, that would be something I could help you with. Would you be interested in hearing how that could look? And they might say yes. And then you start sharing how that might look. And if they say, no, not really, then, also fine. You don't have to push, but it's talking about what you're doing with every opportunity that you have, sort of when you're invited into the conversation. So not go to a birthday party of your best friend intending to talk to everybody and trying to figure out if anybody at that party might be your next guest. No, that's the wrong intent. But you can go to the party intending to just meet as many people as possible and just have awesome conversations. And if that conversation steers towards something that you might be able to help them with, then don't be afraid to talk about what that might look like or how you might be able to help them. So that isn't a very important point. And another point is that a lot of people are afraid to ask money for their services. Not only the worth of their service, but just money in general. And that usually has to do with trauma or limiting beliefs. So you need to work on those. But it can also be hugely beneficial to just sort of role play a conversation. And that's also what I do with a lot of my clients. We role play, and then I pretend to be a potential customer, and then they need to engage me, and I will start talking about something that happened, and then it's their job to just ask more questions and come to the point where I say, oh, you can help me with this. Oh yeah, I might be interested in this, but I need a little bit more information. And you then sharing your information, and then also become comfortable in telling people what that is going to cost. And it's also directly linked often to thinking, oh, but everybody can do this. if you don't think that what you can do is special, then you are definitely going to have a hard time asking money for it.
Okay, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yes.
So you have to keep that in mind in this process. And I love that you bring up, just having conversations with people. Because if we come at it from this space of desperation, that's when we get out of that heart-centered space, that soul space of sales, and into, I've got to make this sale because blah, 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 right? Like it's going to pay my rent this month or whatever the desperation is. So we need to be in a place of being heart-centered, authentic, and honest with people. And just because somebody says no now doesn't mean they're not still thinking about it. Because at that point, check in with them. Just ask them, is it okay if we connect in 3 months? I just want to see where you're at and how things are going. Because as a coach and a mentor and a former tax accountant, I used to see this with people where they had big ideas, but if I checked in with them in 3 months and they weren't any further along, then that was a moment that they started to realize, okay, do I want the next 3 months to be the same thing? Or am I now willing to invest in myself? Because this is really about investing in themselves. It's not investing in you, right? It's investing in themselves. Mm-hmm. So if they have at that point feel, okay, I'm ready to invest in myself so that I do get different results, then they may say yes at that point. Mm-hmm. So don't take a no personally. Don't go into rejection, which is so simple, it's so easy to do. But we want to stay in that heart-centered space of we're holding a place for them in this process. We know we can help them, right? What you've got is going to help them. Exactly. It's just them seeing that what you've got is going to help them. Yeah. So staying in touch with people, following up with them is really where the gold is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that you're sharing that, because that is another issue that I see with a lot of people. They either think that the no is a definite no, a permanent no, but it's a no in that moment, or they feel like people are saying no to you while they are not saying no to you, but they're saying no to whatever you're having to offer in that moment, because they are not ready for what you are having to offer, not because what you are offering is not good enough or not something that they would need. They're just not ready for it often. And sometimes it's just a no because you're not a match, but that's a whole different story. But in general, that doesn't happen often, where it's really a no, and let's never talk to each other again type of no. That almost never happens.
You're cut off. You're out of here. Yes, it takes, honestly, in the sales process, I've been in sales for a very long time and studied sales, and it takes between 7 and 17 interactions with a person before they will actually buy from you.
Yes.
So, it's, if somebody says no, wait till the 17th time. And if they really write you off and say, no, never contact me, then that's a real no, right? Yeah. Like there's no match, there's no connection. And that's okay, because there'll be plenty of other people to support you in building your micro brand. So there's no reason to feel, that personalize this and think that, oh, they're just, nobody wants to buy from me. And you said a really good thing too, that I do want to kind of expand on, is money trauma and goal trauma, right? Like how many times have we set goals and it never really happens, and we become kind of traumatized, like I'm never going to set goals because I never reach them. Well, you may set the goal and then not do anything towards it. And some goals actually work out that way, but some goals you have to take action steps on. And I think this is where people miss the mark. In fact, I actually have a weekly strategy session group with people. It's called Momentum Zone. And in that group, we set at least 3 goals for the week, and we have at least 3 action steps to get us to that goal. Now, how many times do we set goals at the first of the year and never look at them? It happens all the time. Or maybe we get really gung-ho and we're excited, we work on it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we drop off. So having a system that helps you stay on track, setting your goals, reviewing your goals every week, having action steps every single week towards that goal, you will be amazed at how you actually start achieving your goals. And once you start achieving your goals, guess what happens to your self-confidence? It starts skyrocketing, right? Because it's like, oh, what else can I do? So we actually start to grow by having some level of success, but we have to start somewhere, right? You can't.
Absolutely right. But I also know at the same time that this strategy doesn't work for everybody. There are also, and I was one of them, a big group of people who feel restricted by this way of goal setting and having to take action because of their nature. And that's why I always start everybody off with their BU by design blueprint so that you know what your nature is. For me, I need to have a more flexible goal system where I know what I'm working towards and I roughly know what I want to achieve in the month. I also roughly know what I want to achieve per week. But then I need the flexibility to determine on which day I'm going to work on it or which day I'm just not able to work on it without it having serious consequences. So I need a more intuitive, flexible type of goal setting than the strict, this is my goal for this week and these are the 3 actions and this action I'm taking on Monday, this action I'm taking on Thursday, and this action I'm taking on Friday. Because while that works for a lot of people, it doesn't work for everybody. And that's why I think it's so important to really get to know who you are on a very deep level so that you can discover how things work best for you, because it doesn't have to be the same as for other people, not even your best friend or people in your immediate circle, right? It can be very personal.
You're right. And how many times do we try to force ourselves on a path that doesn't align with who we are and what our nature is? And
Very
it
often.
just feels uncomfortable. It feels like work. It feels stressful. And so we have to go into that intuitive side and align. And when I'm talking about setting my goals aren't always the same every week. I look at what my priorities are for the week and set my goals around that. If I have to have an article out this week, then that's my priority, right? If I have to have this done this week, then that's my priority. But my goals always change, and I have multiple businesses. So I sort of have to juggle between which one needs my attention right now so
Yeah, I
that I
know.
stay aligned with, and get stuff done on all of them.
I have also 4 businesses, so I know exactly what that is about. But I think also the more you develop as a person and the closer you get to your true core and the more adapt you become at listening to your intuition, tuning into your intuition, the more flexible it becomes. I don't use spreadsheets anymore or a planner or a physical to-do list. I trust that everything that needs to happen happens on the day that it needs to happen, and that's what I mean with the high level planning, and it sorts itself out. But that is a trust that grew over the years that I didn't have when I was starting out and that I've mastered now that I've been doing this for 10 years. So it's everything is a process, and that's why we keep hammering on the fact it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, it's about enjoying your journey, it's about discovering everything about yourself, and maybe following a guru and then discovering, oh yeah, this is not what works for me, okay, and then maybe finding someone else, and tapping into all of these things to figure out what works for you. That I think is the most important part. And if you've been watching and listening here today and you've made it this far, then thank you. I love you. It would mean the world to me if you could like this episode and maybe leave a comment sharing what your biggest insight from today's talk was. And it would even be more amazing if you could share this talk with your network, because there is a high chance that you have people in your network, in your followers, in your contacts, that would be really benefiting from listening to this talk today, and you would be doing them a great service if you were to share it. And I can also imagine that you might want to know, but where can I reach you, Jana? Where can I find you? How can I contact you? So where can they find you?
Just call out my name. I'll be there, right? I look forward to a day when we actually have, we're actually using full on telekinesis, because to me is where the magic would be. I am available at goddesspoweredsolutions.com. And on that site, I actually have 25 ways of monetizing your message. So it is ideas to support you in getting your message out there in such a way that you're starting to receive some money for it. And eventually you can grow it into a business if that's something that interests you, but you've got to start somewhere. I'm also on all the social media channels. I'm sure Barbara will have all the information in the description on how to connect with me, but I'd love to connect with you. And I too would love to hear what you found valuable about our conversation today, because this has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Definitely has been a lot of fun. And if we went too fast, indeed, no worries. All the links to both contact me and Jana will be in the show notes, probably below this video, otherwise to the sides or the above. I never know where they end up. It depends on which platform you're catching this on, but somewhere around this video will be all the information you need. And don't hesitate to reach out to either myself or to Jana. We would both love to help you, connect with you, talk with you, and support you in whatever way is possible. For right now, I thank you so much for being here, for listening, for watching, and I thank you, Jana, for sharing your wisdom and your words and just having this awesomely wonderful talk with me here today.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Exactly. And you, dear watcher, listener, I will talk to you again in next week's interview. Bye for now.